Already started. It is 6 o'clock. I will welcome everyone to the City of Ione Planning Commission meeting, and I invite you to join for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And it looks like today we have Commissioner Politi, which we will excuse from our meeting, and we can take a roll call of our remaining commissioners.
Commissioner Bowl,
Here.
Commissioner Caputo,
Here.
Vice Chairman Gephardt,
Here.
Chairwoman Scott.
Here. I'm just noticing, we don't have the January minute, so we're just calling for an approval of the agenda.
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a first?
We approve the agenda.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And no presentation. Do we have any public comment unrelated to the agenda today? I don't see anyone, and no Zoom today, Janice, or it's just not on the screen.
Not on the screen, but we
Okay.
have Zoom. It's on.
Okay, okay,
I don't
perfect.
see anybody but.
No questions. Okay, perfect. So then we will close public comment and we will move on to our regular agenda, which is the 2026 Planning Department Work Plan. And Susan is our staff today.
So at the last Planning Commission meeting, you directed staff to develop a Planning Department work plan for 2026. I requested that the planning commissioners help me out with this work plan, sent you with some homework. I did receive emails from, I think, almost everybody with some comments on what needed to be done. So what I did is I broke this into two sections. The first section is things that I need to work on that I already have authorization to work on. And the first one is the application processing. You'll notice on your agenda that I had Janice put under planning, city planner reports, planning commissioner reports I'll give you a brief update on the projects that I am reviewing right now so that you'll have that. The second item is the annual progress report. You saw this last year where we had the new housing element policies that we had to report to HCD what's been worked on and what hasn't been worked on. They just released the new table last week. So we are good to go on, start working on that. And then the municipal code section, Title 16 revisions, which I need to work on with the city attorney, and its coordination with the city attorney has not been easy. So I need to work on that some more. Then the following list is, after that is comments from, I distilled the comments from all the planning commissioners. They're not set in any kind of suggested prioritization. I just put them all down on paper so that we can start talking about them. The first and foremost one is the one that we discussed quite a bit at the last several meetings, and that's the revisions to the Municipal Code Title 17. And that's where we have Chapter 1724 allowing residential and the commercial. So you have several tiers of commercial development, most of which expressly allow for commercial, but the top tiers do not allow for. But you have a lot of residences built in those commercials, so they're considered existing non-conforming. And in the past meeting, we had talked about, one of the earlier meetings, we had talked about making some changes to that code section to allow for residential, expressly allow for residential. And there was some discussion about actually rezoning or creating a new zone at the last meeting. And I just wanted to confirm before I start heading down this road that the idea of expressly allowing in the commercial zones is something you still want me to pursue, or would you rather I provide 3 different options to you?
I was a little hesitant to say that we just want to carte blanche offer residential in commercial without, period.
So what I've done in other jurisdictions is the top tier requires a conditional use permit. And that actually, when you're talking to a lender,
Okay.
that actually provides some security to that lender that they have a discretionary approval for that property to be used as residential.
Hmm.
So the existing non-conforming would still be there. But if somebody wanted to come in and, we could word the ordinance such that the conditional use permit for those that are already existing non-conforming isn't necessary.
Yeah.
But anything coming in that wants to either build or convert an existing structure to residential, they could do that. So, or add on to, because at this point, if you add on too much to it, also you would need a CUP. So that's a consideration. And I can certainly bring all these different options at a future meeting, but I wanted to get the juices flowing because I was kind of thinking one way and then listening at the last meeting about people saying, no, we need to rezone or we need to come up with a different zone. I was like, okay, that's a little different than what we had talked about earlier. So,
Personally, I'd like to see the options.
okay,
Yeah, I would too. And I
okay,
think initially, and like you said, we brought this up ad nauseum, but I think like the first time around, you suggested, and I don't have it in front of me, there's a little chart with the X's of what's allowed and what's not.
uh-huh,
And just simply, putting an X in that one that it's allowed,
yep.
which,
And that's a possibility. The danger, and we can go over this more when we actually have this agendized, but the danger is that you do want to, I shouldn't say it that way. Typically, a city's policy is to kind of protect some of their commercial
Right.
because that's where it all comes down to the bottom line. And that's where you get sales tax.
Yes, we
It's a
want
potential
to-
sales tax. So if there are prime pieces of commercial property, there is that issue that can
No,
come
there
up.
is, and it is frontage and it is highway frontage. And I, when I, when I think I read the initial agenda, I was like, ooh, not all commercial zones. I was like, I did want to make sure that
Okay.
we are intentional.
Well, then let me bring up all of the options for you at the next meeting. And then you can give me better direction on how to move forward in a, more definitive way.
I just throw in this too. I don't think it should be left by the wayside. I didn't talk to a majority, but I talked to 2 of the council members that were on there when they passed this. There were just 2 that I happened to run into, as I've said. They both told me that what happened was not what they intended or
Right.
what they thought was happening. They both said, this is Smiley and Epperson,
Mhm.
that the intention, and it was a unanimous vote, the intention was to give people as much leeway to do with their property as
Yeah.
they could.
Yeah.
So,
I know our goal here is to solve problems
Oh,
in
absolutely.
regards, people historically got these old lots, right?
Mhm.
And there's own commercial, but at some time they're allowed to create residential. I mean, I'm just trying to clean up all those gray areas that are causing trouble for the property owners.
Right.
If someone's got like if someone's got an obviously strictly commercial property and there's not residential now, we're not going to let them slide into residential with a use permit. But I'm talking about trying to solve problems for existing property owners with existing old lots that are still grandfathered in and causing us trouble now. I mean, that's my thought.
Priority.
And causing
I-
issues and
I agree with that very much so. However, I think we have to do this with an eye on where is the city going to be in the future? And I'm not an advocate of making this another Folsom, believe me, that's not where I'm going with this. But at some point in time, we have to look at if we put, and if we're able to attract some good commercial type properties, and even commercial restaurants or even a medical facility or a hotel or whatever, we need to look at where that should be in terms of where people live. So it's not in the middle of where they live, but it has easy access to it. And I can see at some point in the future, probably not in my lifetime, but at some point in the time, we will start to think about annexing property that's on the other side of 88 that's in the county that is part of the city limits.
Okay, I'll get
And
to the
I could see that
annexation because it
happening.
is on the list further down, and I have a lot of thoughts about that as well.
I'll leave that alone and let you go from there then.
I did want to give a little bit more insight. Chair Hoska had brought up the Reed property, which is the little square that was that's on the way out of town right next to the prison.
Yeah.
And that property was not shown in the old general plan as in the city.
Right.
And it wasn't shown as zoning on the zoning map. It's still not shown in the zoning map, but it was brought in under the 2023 general plan update. They realized that it was actually a city piece of property. So, and it's zoned commercial.
That one is zone commercial.
Well, not zoned, I'm sorry, it's general plan designated commercial.
Okay.
So the property owner did come to me and ask
That's right.
if he could put, an RV storage facility out there, which is under light industrial manufacturing. So in order to do that, he would need to get that zoning. If he was just doing something commercial there, I would just bring the commercial zoning to you just to confirm that it's zoned commercial consistent with the general plan. But since he wants to do something that's in a different zone, he has to actually do a general plan amendment and rezone of that. And I gave him all that information last fall, last fall, and it's come up again. It's come up a couple times, and I keep reminding, this is what needs to be done.
That's the circumstance with that one. Okay.
Okay, so just because I know it's come up a couple times, I've had some council members ask me about it as well.
Yeah.
That's where it's at, and I just wanted to kind of clear the air on that one.
Is he, until it's settled, is he allowed to use it with that use?
No,
That's the one that was just recently gravelled and fenced? Is that what we're talking about by Mill Creek?
Yeah.
Where the old Union Schoolhouse used to be?
yes,
The corner?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it is.
He's soliciting, looking for units I'm just, if that's the same parcel, I saw something on Facebook and saying, hey, I've got this corner lot and I want to, so if you want to store your RV there, give me a call.
okay. Well,
I'm,
I will work with the building inspector on that.
yeah.
When was that parcel put within the city limits?
I honestly, I don't know. I didn't go through the LAFCO paperwork to figure out when it was.
Yes, I have it.
I just know, okay, so back in about 2018, 2019, the executive director, Roseanne Chamberlain of LAFCO, worked together with the GIS person with the Amador County Transportation Commission to review all the jurisdictions' maps and found where there were errors. So in each city, there were little islands that, where the property descriptions didn't touch. So there were little islands of county within the cities, and there were some borders that were done incorrectly over time. So the way, when you annex a piece of property, you submit to the county surveyor, the surveyor submits maps to the State Board of Equalization, and everyone gets all on the same page. The State Board of Equalization is the top of the pyramid. So when she went back and did all that research, while the county recorder's office and surveying office was showing one thing, the State Board of Equalization was showing another thing. So at about that time, most of the jurisdictions went through a cleanup exercise. And I'm guessing that that's when that was discovered, that it was part of the city I'm just speculating here, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking that that's why, because it wasn't in the old general plan, in the
Mhm.
2021 general plan or 2020, I can't remember when we
Yeah,
listed it, but
yeah.
it was in the 2023.
23.
And that was after they had done that cleanup work.
So how's that property zone now?
It
Commercial.
doesn't have, if you look at your zoning map, it doesn't show a zone on it, but
It
it's,
doesn't even show it in the city limits.
No.
2018.
So
No.
the business that he's running out there, is that not commercial?
but the general plan land use designation, which again is trumps the zoning, it is zoned commercial.
Because I know that I believe he's already gone and gotten use permits for that property.
He doesn't have use permits on the property.
Okay,
I've met with him and I've had email conversations with him.
okay.
I'm keeping an email chain that shows that he needs to rezone it if he wants to use it for that use.
So what would we have to rezone it to?
Light industrial is
Yeah.
what Susan is saying to it.
Alright.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it looks like in 2023 is when the general plan picked up the commercial zoning. And since that is when we have, I guess, it becomes active, so to speak,
Mhm.
that's what we have to go by. is
So,
what
and
Susan
it,
is saying.
you know, it's not that difficult to do a
Right,
general
it's
plan
a-
amendment and
yeah,
rezone
yeah, yeah.
on that little piece of property.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be done. It needs to be
Right.
done and he needs to apply for it. So,
How do we get, I just will play, I mean, it doesn't bother me, has it out there or not,
No.
but just from a legal point of view, how do you get around that not being spot zoning? Everything around it is different. It's one small lot and everything around it is different.
I think you have to look at I think the fact that it's next to the prison, it's two sides are the Mule Creek State Prison, which
What is that zone? Yeah, what is the zoning? for
that's
mil-
public institutional.
That's public institutional too. Okay.
So, I think you actually have to look at not just what the zoning is, but what the actual use is. It's a prison, so
Yeah.
it's, you're not going to want to put a hotel right there.
Right, right.
A lot of commercial uses probably wouldn't want to go
Well,
right there.
that's what I was going down the path because I'm like, okay, industrial. I wasn't,
So
yeah.
like I said, I don't think it's a big thing and we can't get too in the weeds about it, but I did want to bring it up and say that, because I have had other people ask me about it, that's what needs to be done and he knows that and he's known it for a while. So,
So he already knows that?
yes,
Has he started that process, do you know?
no. So he was told last summer and we unraveled it last summer and yeah. So that's where that's at. Temporary use permits, Commissioner Gephardt, you brought up making some changes there. I think that's relatively easy in the administrative table. It's a matter of moving the box from me to you, which, like I said at the last meeting, I'm totally fine with. I like having more tools in my toolbox that utilize the planning commission than me making those kinds of decisions. So I'm totally good with that. The Ione bypass issue, we've talked about this a couple times. I think that's a good thing to ask the city council to follow up with. But I'll remind the commission, as I've said in the past, that agreement, that development agreement is between the city council and the developer.
Right.
Or whoever is transferred to as the developer. So, but I think it's a good from a planning standpoint to get an update on it to the planning commission. But there again, that needs to come from the city council. So the idea, let me back up here just a little bit, is with concurrence from the planning commission, any edits or changes to this, anything that the public wants to add to it, I will get this to the city manager and the city manager will put it on the agenda for the city council to consider. And they have to consider what kind of time it's going to take me to do these things and if there's budget to do it. And even if there's a desire for some of these high-level policy things.
Mhm.
This one, I think ask the city council if they, want to follow up on it. I think the timing is right considering the other applications that we have pending. So,
And just for your reference, Susan, I did bring my 2017 file from the Ione bypass alternative study request for proposal approval.
Mhm.
And at that time, the discussion from, 9 years ago was significant traffic issues in the downtown area warrant consideration of an alternate circulation, primarily for truck traffic. For the past 2 decades, the preferred alternative has been the concept of bypassing the downtown. This has commonly been referred to as the Wester Ione Roadway Improvement Strategy. That's WIRIS project. And at that time, the cost estimate for the preferred alignment was approximately $92 million in 2010 dollars. So I had felt that there was a tremendous investment of already, even getting to this point from 2017. There were also some revised bypass alignments using existing roads that put it in the 8 to 10 million range. Obviously, that's going to probably be like 30 million in current
oh,
dollars.
at least.
Yeah, it's a totally different,
It's totally different
totally
ballgame now.
different. Yeah, it's totally different now. And so, at that time, we lost our ACTC money because our former supervisor voted to send that money to Amador City for the bridge project. And he actually came in and apologized to the city council, promised better representation in the future. And 2 terms later, he is gone and we have a new supervisor. So I would think that, again, with, as you've mentioned already, other discussion points, and a new supervisor, it is someone with, intrinsic knowledge of the 20 years of activity. It's prudent timing. I don't know what we're even looking at with costs at
So
this point.
I think realistically, you're looking at needing to do smaller, more achievable projects than a large bypass project. So the regional traffic mitigation fee program that was created 25 years ago was based on the idea of pooling money
Mhm.
and putting it towards these projects because individually no one was able to do these
Right,
projects, right?
independently, right.
So they pooled their money. They did the 49 bypass. Jackson did the Mission Boulevard, which acts as a little mini bypass. The Sutter Street signal, well, that wasn't on there. I'm trying to think of some other projects. So Pine Grove has been kind of the death nail of the RTMF program because it started huge and it got pared down, pared down, pared down, pared down. And now the Transportation Commission has lost its appetite to do these big projects.
That's what we've discussed over the last
Yeah.
several meetings. Yeah.
So what they are now doing are CEQA ready, no public controversy, shoulder to shoulder, shovel ready projects. We have applied for and we did receive some monies to do some improvements at the last little go around, which was great. I didn't think that we would get it, but we did. But those big projects, unless you have some other type of funding available, they're not going to happen. So what is that other type of funding? It's from the state or the federal government. And grant programs in the state and the federal government have shrunk to almost nothing.
Yeah, they're broke.
The state is not in good financial shape, and the federal government's appetite for giving local jurisdictions money is gone.
Maybe we should just tell them it's a light rail. It'd be lots of money,
But even that's getting heat. So, yeah, so,
high speed.
so my suggestion is, and you combine that with Caltrans and the state changing the metric for how you analyze traffic impacts from projects, from level of service, how long you're stopped at a stoplight or how long it takes you to get through a segment of roadway, to vehicle miles traveled. And in these rural areas where you don't have public transit, it doesn't work. And basically what it is Caltrans saying congestion is good because it gets people out of their cars and using public transit. But if you don't have a robust public transit, which none of us in the foothill
don't,
communities
yeah.
do, it doesn't work. So we no longer have, as planners, that mechanism to require new development to mitigate their impacts. And you're going to see this in future projects.
No,
And it's a real conundrum.
When does public safety become an issue?
So that's what we used. That's what we used when we fought the consolidation, the traffic impacts with consolidation
gonna say.
at Argonaut and somewhat here. That was one of the arguments that I used in Jackson and for Ione at 88, because that is the one thing that's still asked in that initial study checklist. Are you creating a public safety issue?
Right.
And if you have long queuing, people tend to take risks, and there's other things with long queuing.
Yeah,
Air quality goes up, problems go up.
the vehicle miles traveled was actually a big catalyst with the consolidation and the EIR. If anyone had read it, that was actually kind of the death nail in that. They're having to go back and finish some of those traffic studies because they were trying
Well,
to
not just finish them,
Well,
actually do them.
like get them done because they-
Caltrans told them you need to do them, and they didn't. And
As
Yeah.
another update for anyone following that, the former superintendent Gibson went on to the Vallejo School District and has departed ways there as well as of Friday. So she is not faring well in her career path. And basically, I'm hopeful that that circumstance helps put another mindset on some of these concepts that she attempted to railroad forward without due process and without consideration for public safety or vehicle miles traveled for students. So I just thought that was interesting as relevant to our agendized item, but
so I guess
Yeah.
what my suggestion is with with the bypass study is to take that study and let's break it down
right.
into its component parts. And are there any component parts that we can use the RTMF funds to do some of the work?
I'm actually, that's what I keep like gazing at here in front of me because there's components of this. So it's, I'm going to read this. So the portion of the alignment from State Route 104 to the future Golf Links Drive, Class 2 bicycle lanes as shown in the city's general plan would be installed. Accommodating the traffic, you would need some widening of the road. A portion of 5 Mile Drive, Old Stockton Road to future Golf Links Drive. The road should consist of 2-foot travel lanes, 2 4-foot bicycle lanes, and 2-foot gravel shoulders. That's 32 feet of pavement and 4 feet of gravel shoulder. Like, so for example, would those be the kind of things that you're talking about, like lifting some of those projects out or?
Possibly, but we would have to do all of the environment. We would have to fund
Okay.
the upfront work to get it shovel ready. So we would have to do the design and environmental and get it through that process, and then then they would consider constructing it.
Would it be
For this
easier if we called it a truck route instead of a bypass? Bypass
No.
has all kinds of emotional attachments to it.
It
Okay,
does.
even though there's nothing that a bypass is going to harm.
No, it really comes down to the ACTC no longer wants projects that take a huge amount of time huge amount of administration. They just want to build things and fix things.
Like we saw with the junior high roads that they
Yes.
wanted to address.
Those roads already exist. It's shoulder to shoulder,
Right.
but they need to be repaired
Mhm.
and improved. And so those are the types of projects. So that's where potentially with development agreements and as you have more growth, that's where the shift's probably going to happen, is they front the costs on some of those things. But again, you can't necessarily require it as mitigation. You can only put it as a condition of approval, and you have to have real strong findings behind it in order to legally require them to do it. So it's tough. Yeah, it's really hard right now.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that, so I would suggest maybe honing in on this a little bit more and saying, creating it maybe an ad hoc committee to review. And I've
that
been
idea.
working with the traffic engineer at the city engineer's office, Wildan, to review some projects, and he's super communicative and good, and maybe if there's some funds that he can sit down with an ad hoc committee, that's what, if you want me to, I can craft that into the work plan to evaluate the bypass study
Yeah.
and utilize, Wildan staff to advise on that.
I would be supportive of that, and I
Okay.
would probably volunteer for that committee. I think that in the discussion of something like that, I can't help but feel that it would be remiss to not mention the issues on Shakely and our lack of any kind of a traffic light and the backup.
I have
And-
information on that.
Okay.
It's coming.
There's wrecks out there. I saw a school bus accident a couple of months ago. It's really terrible, and it's only going to get worse. It gets worse every year.
Yeah. There's more, I have more information that I'll give you under,
Plymouth and Preston, and it backs up, and there's nowhere to go. So I feel like a traffic light or something is really our only.
okay, so I do have information on
Okay.
that that's recent, and
Okay.
I will give it to you under the project update.
Okay.
Traffic light where?
Preston and Shakely, corner of the stations there.
Shakely,
Yeah.
Shakely
Yeah.
intersection.
If you're trying to drop a kid off at school.
It's really bad when the prison crew gets out.
School is.
So somewhere around 2
is a
o'clock.
big, that's when school gets out. It's 2 o'clock.
And that's when you have traffic coming from the prison.
Yeah.
There are
I've-
certain days, I mean, I live on that road.
Right,
as a
right.
kid, And I've tried, but I can't make head or tail of what days, but some days, and I've taken videos of it,
Mm.
the traffic is backed up standing still from Preston Avenue up.
It's over
heading
the hill,
towards
yeah,
Plymouth,
yeah.
over the hill, as far as you can see, it's standing still.
Yeah.
And I've taken, screenshots of, the maps, and it's a red line all the way up there. and
Oh, yeah.
It's nuts, but I don't know. I mean, I have to time when I leave my house.
Yep,
Yeah.
And, talking to Patty and Pete, working on that piece of property, and the real estate agent says you would only show it like at certain times of the day.
I bet, because you can't
I
get
bet.
there
Yeah,
otherwise.
no, you
On
can't
top of
get
that,
to the
oh my
driveway,
gosh,
no.
yeah.
I mean,
That's not good for the gas station or the other.
it's not good
businesses
for
or-
any of
yeah.
it.
You know that, right?
And it is a public safety issue. I mean, there's wrecks over there. It's
I do have some updates on
Yeah,
that. But
okay.
okay, so I will amend the work plan to include breaking it, taking the 2017 Ione bypass study, breaking it down into
Yeah.
size, more realistic chunks, with the use of, Wildan's traffic consultant. Their traffic
I am
engineer.
amazed that with all those double trailer rigs that come through downtown Ione, that somebody hasn't been killed yet. I know they knocked down that building at Bluestone,
Mhm.
that awning at Bluestone multiple times.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, when it was Clark's Corner, that's when it started. I mean, they would like
When it
take
was
that,
started.
yeah.
Orville made good money off of that. little corner of it.
Yeah.
Corner.
No, there was a child struck in the street there, though. I mean, it
Yeah.
has had, I mean.
Yeah, I wasn't unaware of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, again, the historical, if you go back 10 years, I mean, there's been some really frightening situations that
I
have
believe
happened
it.
out there. And it's just by the grace of, that we haven't
Don't
had
happen
something.
anymore.
It is, it is. No, I don't let my kids, I mean, I was never comfortable with them riding their bikes down to, I see them all the time and it just, it
Yeah.
scares me
course.
as a parent, and I know obviously, our amazing principal, Mr. Huss does, the walking Wednesdays and he'll meet up at the Perry Earl Park and take, 30 or 40 kids down there. But it's like, he's very capable of doing that. It's just, it's not, we do not have good pedestrian or bicycle safety for a community like we are.
I agree.
And I don't know why it's not seen as a priority. So,
But if you go back, I'm not disagreeing whatsoever. If you go back 10, 15 years, we didn't even have sidewalks.
we did it. No, I remember when we got sidewalks. It was so
Main street to
exciting.
the
Yeah, no, it was awesome to get sidewalks. And, honestly, like we've lived here, like 25 years now, and it's like it's just every year the traffic is just more and more and more. And, it's just going to
One thing,
continue.
that's a little off subject, but one thing I've noticed lately over the last, say, 2 years, year and a half,
Mhm.
this intersection right here,
Mhm.
I'd never seen it before, but now there's like a whole lot of people that don't think they have a stop or they
Oh,
think that there's a
agreed.
stop
They
sign on
don't
Main
think-
Street.
Yes.
I see it over and over and
They
over.
cut right in
Get
front of
it.
you. It's crazy. No, we used to live up there on Amador, and so I would constantly come down Amador onto Main Street, and nobody thinks that they need to stop there. And it's really, it happens all the time, and it has for years. So that's why I keep thinking like we just need lights, because people don't really pay attention or concern themselves with the stop signs or who does or doesn't have right of ways. People don't drive anymore, like where you follow common sense of like,
When did they do that?
well, it used to be that people, like, if you had 13 cars behind you, you'd pull over. Nobody does that anymore. If you get to a stop sign and you're like the third one there, you let the first person go for. Nobody does that anymore. It's like
You're right. I
nobody
agree.
has conduct of how to drive responsibly and defensively. Anyways, I digress. But yeah.
Time, Mike, you would remember this when you didn't have to use turn signals in town.
Mhm.
You know where the person in front of you was going to go.
Right.
All right, so I'm going to move on to the zoning map review. And Chair Hoska, you brought this up, but it wasn't very specific. So I was
Okay.
hoping you could elaborate a little bit more on what your,
I think that this is sort of what we have been talking about with some of the discrepancies on here and what we've been talking about with the Reed property
Okay.
and some of the, this.
that's
the
kind of what I
2018
thought, but I didn't
zoning.
want to,
No, not assume. No, I appreciate that because this is, I think, what was in my mind with that is it's this, this 2018, the discrepancies on that.
okay, okay.
Um,
Yeah, yes.
we could, yeah. I mean, do
I
we
was
want to
gonna-
do
let me-
that on
Going
each
down.
thing? Yeah.
I would suggest letting me
Yeah.
get through the list and then
And then open, okay.
open it up.
Yeah.
So then the school district property, there was a suggestion to rezone it so that, to protect it from sale. So that property is zoned public and institutional. You really can't create a zone for a property that makes it unusable or used only for one thing, because that's considered discriminatory zoning.
Even for schools?
Well, it's public institution, so it's the same
Public and,
zoning
yeah,
as
public
the
and
prison.
institution is, schools is expressly allowed in that.
So you could put another prison
What
in
else is allowed in that?
city.
The city halls,
So like the
county
police department
offices,
that they're putting over there could have gone like there, for example, just
yeah,
for
the
kick.
police department, fire department, stations,
Mhm.
churches.
Oh, churches
Or
are considered
I
public
believe, I'd
institutions?
have to double check your zoning, but usually in public and institutional churches are in there too.
Interesting.
Parks are usually under recreation.
right,
But
right.
it's only a handful of things, so it's already pretty,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean someone can't buy it and come to you and ask to rezone it.
And my understanding of that is that if it were to go up for sale, it would be offered to other public entities first, essentially. I think that's what I
I
recall.
think that's the rules now.
think those
If
are
you
the
have
rules.
surplus property, you have to offer it to, well, you have to offer it to affordable housing also.
What?
Affordable housing. Well, we've already gone down the surplus property pathway, and there are some requirements that you go through the state for that, which is, it's not something that the city can just decide of their own volition. City council wants to do this, we're surplusing the property. It just doesn't work like that.
Nope.
So that is
I
something.
don't know
to
if
keep-
those same rules apply to school district,
I haven't.
but I
looked at
think
it
they
lately.
do.
I believe they do, because I kind of did a lot of research on this when they were discussing that with the school consolidation and really ramrodding that forward under Superintendent Gibson, who got fired on Friday. And so she was the big proponent of that plan.
Coming.
And so I don't know what the current temperature of that is with the flux of stuff right now.
Okay,
So,
so
so zoned as it is, it would be then difficult for anybody to sell that property.
I mean, they can sell it.
I understand that,
You know,
but
so-
no matter what you zone it, they could sell it.
Yeah,
gonna
so
happen,
I had property in the city of, I didn't have it. The city of Jackson had property, the courthouse property
Oh, right.
was public and institutional, and the people that bought it.
Is that the veterans housing now? Is that what they did?
I think that's what that they're looking at. No, the veterans housing, I think is gonna go on Placer Drive.
Because they went and got that bond.
Yeah, I think that's gonna go towards Placer Drive, but no, there's
Okay.
the old courthouse.
Yeah.
That isn't Baker Street people in there? This is what happens. I only work on a couple of projects in Jackson now.
They're in the Kravinoff building on Main Street.
No, they're not there anymore. No, they got booted out. But anyway, the people that bought the courthouse successfully rezoned it.
Interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
I'll have to do some
So-
more. Okay.
So,
The national one.
anyway, so that's out of that. So I would recommend not doing anything with that property because I think whatever, if the school district decides to sell it and if somebody wants to rezone it, it's going to have to come to this body and the city council because it requires a rezone and a general plan amendment.
Mhm.
So to use for commercial or residential or whatever else. So
So-
I would recommend that we don't,
So as it exists, it's difficult for them to
Yes.
just turn around and sell it. That's my concern.
They
Good.
can-
They
I-
can, they
In their current
There's
financial
schools that-
situation,
yeah.
they're looking for money everywhere they can find it.
Well, yeah, they are. Yeah.
Well, they also wanted to sell the elementary school site in Sutter Creek, and not to resurrect all of that original consolidation plan, but part of how they funded that was requiring the sale of those school sites. They cannot consolidate without selling property in downtown Sutter Creek and about that 30 acres. It's never going to happen. It's a lunatic plan to go down. So when I saw this, that was what I wanted to just confirm, that my understanding of it is that it's right, they cannot just turn around and sell it. It would be, yeah.
Better
So
not.
Process.
yeah.
Cross that off.
Susan, for one more thing, for the elementary school property here, say somebody bought it and applied to change the zoning, commercial, whatever, residential most likely.
Yeah.
Who would the burden be on as far as, would we have to justify leaving it as it is? You know what I'm saying?
So either the school district or whoever purchased or is purchasing the site would have to apply for a rezone and general plan amendment and demonstrate that they meet all the findings in order to do that rezone.
And if they were to demonstrate that they meet all the findings, where does that put us?
As a city entity, can we say no? Our property.
That's my question.
I know,
Or
we
safe.
voted no.
If they meet the criteria,
I can't answer that because you
fine.
really have to have all the information in front of you to know whether, what the environmental impacts are, including traffic, air quality, noise, what the circulation would be, what the actual use that they'd be proposing. There's too many variables for me to go, yeah, you could definitely say no to that.
well, I mean.
just don't know.
Just from a specifics aside, just from a legal, burden of proof kind of thing.
If you can demonstrate that it's not consistent with, so the general plan is here, that's your Bible. So if you can demonstrate that it's not consistent with any part of the general plan, which there is some flexibility in there in the general plan. So if you can demonstrate that doesn't fit with what the community wants, that's demonstrated in that general plan, then you can say no.
So let me be devil's advocate. Let's assume that somebody came along and did that. And we as the city of Ione said, no, we voted down. What avenue remedy do they have?
They appealed the police.
What would be the impact on the city if we said no? We gave a reason that's reasonable. Traffic issues.
I mean,
general
anyone
plan,
could sue
whatever.
the city with saying that either you failed to meet due process or that that the findings are not, sufficient to deny it.
I'm going to do one more kind of devil's advocate comment, and then I'm going to suggest that we do open up to public comment on this item number 4 so that we get a chance to be mindful of people's thoughts and comments.
But I do want to be very careful that we're getting kind of in the weeds on this, and it
Well-
is not a project. I don't want anyone to have.
No,
around-
I was just going to say that my understanding is that say just hypothetically, it comes before the planning commission, it is voted no. They could then appeal that. It would go to the city council.
No, it's a rezone and general plan. You're only making a recommendation to the
We
city
don't,
council.
we can't pass.
So it goes to the city council, and then if they were to deny it, then the next step would be court.
I see. Okay.
Something that's significant, any potential developer, there'd be a lot of meetings and stuff to discuss. the
Absolutely.
Mood of the council and the planning commission. I mean, it wouldn't be like slapped and here it is in a binder, yes or no.
Yeah, I
Developers-
agree with that.
Usually are not going to
This wouldn't be.
force their way where they're not getting some cooperation from there.
And you're also going to want to keep in mind, what if it isn't being reused? At what point does the city, you've got a blighted piece
blight
of
issue.
property
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
That's just it's not doing anything for the city.
Right. Hypothetically, yes. Right now it houses students. So
Yeah,
students
yeah,
attend
but
there
if
every day.
consolidation does happen and they just sit on it, then you have another problem on your hands.
It would be a different circumstance, right. So with that, if we're, okay, I would like to open up to public comment on the 4 items that we have been discussing.
You have 16 minutes.
I know, right? That's why I was like, don't make it wait till 8. It's going to be hard to do that. So go ahead, Larry.
I'm Larry Rhodes. I like the first thing I'd like to say, if you read the first contract for JTS, it says in there, they're supposed to build a bypass. It's written right in there. And another thing is, if you go 5 Mile Drive, you're going to have to eminent domain the property. And that she owns underneath the road, which is going to make it a little tougher. That's just an easement on top of it that I looked into. And if I remember right, that corner lot you're talking on Collins Road there, I think it's Collins Road.
Collins Road.
That was added in there when they built the prison, when the prison eminent domain 887 acres from the Howard property. That's when that was done.
That wasn't Howard Properties then, wasn't that still belong to the school
They,
district?
as far as I know, it's 887 acres they took from Howard property on that. I can't say that for certain. And the other thing about the bypass is we didn't collect $500,000 ATCT. And I've been to the studies, we've spent $750,000 probably easy on the studies. And it's not going to be a state highway. You guys, the state ain't going to take it over. And when the state don't take it over, you can't tell the trucks coming down 124 they can't drive through town. You're not going to get them to go over there. You might get a few. And what you guys are proposing is come out on the industrial park. That's a city street. That's not a state bypass. A bypass is what they showed us 30 years ago, where it went from Ione Carbondale Road. It went straight across clean to 88. You remember that? And the other bypass went clean around to Louis Yeager's property, went around the prison and coming back to Q Ranch.
That was in the mid-80s.
That was years ago.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about.
No, and those, well, you're right, Larry, those have
And
really fallen.
The
yeah.
bad thing is what you people brought up, this happened when I was working for the state. I think like Highway 37 in Vallejo, they upped on Highway 12, 22,000 cars a day. They were supposed to go make up another lane. They upped it to $44,000, 44,000 cars going daily. So you're never going to get the state to back this. And I don't know how you're ever going to afford to build it. I remember that bypass that they wanted, I think back then it was like $113 million 30 years ago. I mean, and because it's got to be like a viaduct, not a viaduct, but it's got to be like a bridge across the mile and a half of that. You can't plug up, can't raise above a floodplain without making a thing. It's kind of like a causeway. That's what I was going to say. People don't realize that. About a mile of that is in the floodplain. It's got to be raised if you're going to have a state highway. I just had to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
That was a quick 16 minutes. Thank you, Larry.
Fastest he's ever talked.
Time flies.
All right, so the next one on the list is the Preston reuse, and I flipped back to the general plan, and the general plan does have that as a policy area with some suggestions. I don't know if everyone had a chance to look at that, but if there's something that needs, that the commission feels needs to be fleshed out more than what's there.
I brought that to the meeting, and I know there's been discussions, and my thing is there any, because it's becoming obviously a state-induced area, massive blight.
Mhm.
Okay, and I know probably as a planning commission, we don't have authority to, push anything.
You can't push anything, but you can direct, you can provide the blueprint for how it moves, when it moves forward. what it looks
Exactly. So what can we do? I mean, even if it's nothing more than send a letter to the council, hopefully motivating them to wake up and move it too, or send a letter or a demand to the state or something to get
Yeah.
somebody to
There's
to
been
respond.
some movement to do some projects out there. I can have Debbie Mackey, I know has been working on it.
Yeah.
Maybe she can give an update to the planning commission on that.
Yeah, I mean,
That would be great, actually.
I can ask her to
I
do
agree
that.
with that.
Yeah,
I agree with Henry. It,
If there's any way of splitting up Preston, I'm just thinking of, I mean, to me, the blight is like Veteran Circle, you know?
Oh.
the housing.
The housing fund.
Yeah.
Preston,
That's what
people were,
Yeah.
inmates were, that's another thing, but that part, the old housing part, is all those houses standing there with.
I know, just-
And I know Debbie was working on some grant funds to do something there. So I think maybe before we go any further with, let's get her in here and have an update.
isn't
I
the
agree
state,
with that.
isn't the state trying to sell that property?
Its own, yeah, it's.
It's always been for sale, but they don't accept the offers they get?
I have no idea. Debbie be the person to ask, because I know she's been working on that.
That's another thing you were talking before with government-owned land, in this case, the state, they have to offer it to certain entities first.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
I never,
It's the remediation.
Let's get them to move. I mean, let's get off dead center here.
okay. So I'm gonna modify this to say, authorize Debbie
Yeah.
to spend some time with the
Yes.
planning commission
That'd be super.
on this. Okay. I own city limits and sphere of influence. I actually have talked to staff a little bit about the idea of expanding the sphere of influence, or the city limits lines, to the south. Having gone through the process numerous times, I don't believe is in a position where you can do that right now. And the reason I say that is you don't necessarily have, if you had property owners that were knocking on the door saying, we want to annex,
Mm,
I think that would be, I think that's the first step,
okay.
is because our LAFCO has traditionally, and when I say I've been working with this LAFCO for 30 years, they have traditionally not allowed annexations to occur unless the property owners are leading the charge. The other thing is, you have to, there's certain, the Cortese-Knox laws that deal with annexation requires municipal services.
Mm,
Your current situation with water and wastewater makes it very difficult to demonstrate that you have services to provide. So while I think it's a good idea from a planning standpoint, from a logistics and services and policy standpoint, I don't think you're there. That is my opinion. You can certainly forward this to the city council, and I'm sure there's council members that will be all over this and
Absolutely.
agree wholeheartedly. But I've been in front of LAFCO numerous times for sphere of influence expansions, where we've provided all the services, but if there's any possibility of them having any kind of revenue from it, and you consider the makeup of LAFCO, it's 2 representatives from cities, 2 supervisors, and 1 at-large, and that at-large person is typically supportive of the county. You're not going to get anywhere, and you can spend a lot of money putting together all the arguments, but ultimately it comes down to them. I've also had annexations where we've met everything, and it hasn't even gone to LAFCO because one of the components of an annexation is doing the tax transfer agreement with the county board of supervisors. So if the board doesn't like it, it stops.
right.
So I had a large annexation in Jackson. The applicant it was applicant driven. We have provided all the services, and it was killed by the board of supervisors because they wanted the tax transfer.
Yeah, yeah.
They wanted all the taxes in that area.
is this the city limits, I understand, but if we were to expand sphere of influence, we have to provide services within the sphere of influence?
You have to, there's, sphere of influence is a little bit more flexible in terms of what you have to demonstrate you have, but you have to be able to demonstrate that you're planning for that.
Wasn't the original industrial park in county property? The one that was planned, maybe just about 10 years ago? Is that city or county? That's property owned by US Mines, right?
The US mine is in the county.
Yeah, they're not going to be an
Yeah,
applicant.
but what if US Mines decided that they want to be in the city? That's a
That would
pretty
be
powerful
helpful.
organization.
That would be helpful, but
Well,
it doesn't mean,
I don't think US Mine wants city oversight.
But wouldn't the first,
Surprised.
a good first step be is to expand the sphere of influence, just to claim our,
and you can certainly request, but I've done that numerous times in other jurisdictions, and it, if there's potential tax benefit, sales, property, whatever, it's a tough sell. And they can rely on the fact that at this point, you're not planning for future services.
I know I was on LAFCO back before all that stuff at Martell was done, and Jackson and Sutter Creek were trying to expand their city limits and meet at Martell,
And then
okay, or Sutter Hill.
one of them didn't
And
follow the
of course,
rules.
it's the unincorporated money grabbers, and Harvey, Visaguera, and now it's under LAFCO, and it's the same county dominated. And there's insignificant, there's not enough city representation, not just Ione, but Jackson and Sutter Creek, they're complaining. However, I think we would have a better chance to get the sphere of influence expanded as a first step because they're not going to feel financially threatened. We're not a magnet for a lot of growth, commercial growth, but we'll never have control of that if sometime we don't strengthen our stake on it or hold on it. So I mean, I think
It's, like I said, these are my opinions. If you want to take this to the city council, I already know that there's some city council members that have the appetite for it. It's just, do they want to spend the money to go through the process? Because it's not inexpensive.
yeah, but at the same time, we're affected by things, industrial issues that affect our town.
Exactly.
Okay, and we need to have some ability to to control how its impact on our community.
We agree with that.
And I would start I would start by asking the city council to direct staff to reach out to property owners, potential property owners, to go into the sphere of influence. Take the temperature before you jump both feet into it.
You gotta start somewhere. That's a good idea.
So
That would be a staff-driven outreach to current property owners to basically take a temp to see if they're interested in some.
that's where I would start.
I'd like, to pursue that, and not even mention annexation or anything at this point, because you gotta have the cart before, we don't want the cart before the horse.
Yeah. I will say that I've done several annexations where it's combined. You do the sphere and the annexation all at the same
I
time.
feel like it goes together. I feel like you're.
I would love to do it
I
all.
mean, the sphere is a nice thing. It's supposed to be a kind of a wish list to the county that when you are getting close to build out, that you have this other area to grow into.
Right.
And that when you, in the sphere, whatever happens in the sphere, you have more say over, even if it stays in the county, there's rules, not that they're always followed, but there are rules that do dictate that the city does have more of a say on what happens there.
Mhm.
Well, we should. I mean, but you look at little towns like Avenal, they got a prison. Their their city limits go about 10 miles from a radius from the city center. And you go to California City out there in Mojave Desert.
Yeah.
I mean, their city limits probably go 15-mile radius from
Yeah.
city center. Of course, no one cares out there probably, but at the same time, they're able to accomplish some control to monitor what's going
on around
time affect them.
The
Yeah.
neighbor.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, I will modify this in the memo. Planning Commission Council Workshop. I would recommend, I think it's a good idea, but I would recommend getting some specific items to offer to them. Having an agenda.
Yeah.
And I think some of the things that can be on the agenda would be, after you work on the Ione bypass study,
Right.
what your findings are, having a workshop on that. After staff's done the outreach to property owners on annexation, maybe some once Debbie's come and talked to us, if there's some outcome for that. So I would keep it on there, but just say, put it as future with the idea that you have some of these topics so that there's an agenda already
When's the
kind
next
of in
election?
place.
November. We're gonna have, well, potentially.
You want to wait until after November. We get the council that gets along with itself.
Same thing.
Well,
Three
and
positions.
that gives us,
We vote.
It
that
just
gives
depends on-
you time and staff time to kind of work on some of these things. But in the meantime, this will hopefully go at the next council meeting. I'll talk to general manager or city manager Lee about
Yeah.
that, but
Yeah, they're-
but we can work, future, with specific ideas, and I can list some of those ideas on there, but just say in the future, when some of these issues have some traction.
More updates, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, more than just discussion items. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Parks and Recreation, I'm already working more with them.
Are you, good.
I mean,
okay.
I hear more than I
Yeah.
was before. And I'm certainly with the building department. Jesse reaches out to me. I mean, everything. She runs everything by me now, and it's great. So
Yeah.
Jesse and Larry White and I because I've worked with Larry for 25 years, and he and I work really well together. So it's a good team right now. Just need to get the city engineer on that same page, but I'm working on it. So
Yeah, I think I'm the one that brought that up.
yeah,
Having sat on Parks and Rec and gone through a few proposals, and thinking to myself, as I was sitting there, there's components of this that should have gone through the planning commission first.
absolutely.
Sitting there.
This was a
Place by your house as an example, is a classic example. I'm sitting here listening to the city council trying to cut up this piece of property to re-engineer, redoing it, and nobody ever put it through planning and say, can you do these things and what can you do there?
Well, there is a plan for that. I don't know why it's abandoned. There was a plan. for-
There may have been, but when they were going back through it, they were re-engineering it. These three gals were up there trying to re-engineer it was like a little puzzle they were playing. It was like, wait a minute. I don't know that this ever went through planning again.
Design plan did. We approved a
Okay.
design plan. And I think I talked with both of you about that I don't know why that's not accessible or understood by the current Parks and Rec Commission, that there are existing approved plans. And if there's changes and deviations to those,
They need to
those
come
need
back
to
to
come
the,
back
the site plan needs to come back to the city
Planning
council,
agreement.
to the planning commission.
without
It
planning.
needs to come
commission
through plan to
approval.
make sure
Yes.
there's a viable thing to do. And then turn it over to Parks and Rec to, okay, what do you want to put in there?
Yeah. Well, they need to come up with a concept, and that
Right.
concept, conceptual
Has to be
site plan
presented.
needs to come
Yeah,
here.
we don't dictate what the
Right.
plan is. They
No.
can present and then we approve
Exactly.
and say, yes, this is conforming, it's approved, go on your way.
It's
It's
just like the
the Picnic Hill.
the
Yeah,
Picnic Hill. They
right.
were barreling forward, and it was like, time out. You need a site plan for
Yeah.
this, and it needs to go to the city planning commission.
Yeah.
So we got it here.
Yeah.
And that's just,
I actually have questions about that too, because I saw like about $100,000 in improvements coming from Parks and Rec and recommendations. So how is that going? Because is that just considered like add-on to what we had originally approved? Or is that just something that's going straight to council and being approved? Because there's about like $100,000 in contract recommendations.
Yes, there is.
Yes. And so I was just unclear about how that was still progressing in 2026 without any oversight.
I don't know.
Okay. I was hoping our city manager would be here tonight, so.
I excused the city manager and the
Okay.
city attorney. I wanted to be able to have a,
No, I get it. It's a very productive discussion considering we're like, 70 minutes in and we're doing very well. But I just had not fired off an email yet about that, and I thought that
Okay.
I would ask, and so I would ask that we find out what's going on with that, because yeah, there's about $100,000.
okay, so maybe what I'll do is on this Parks and Recreation, that there maybe be updates provided to the planning commission?
Yeah, Yeah, and like to what Commissioner Caputa was saying about the train depot project, like I hear about that all the time about why there's no activity out there. And I can't answer that because like I said, we've approved a plan and I don't know why it's not
Yeah.
active. And yet we're spending apparently $100,000 over at Picnic Hill. And I mean, that would go a long way at Depot Park, So
Okay.
I mean, I don't understand the prioritization.
Yeah.
And I'm a stickler on procedure and transparency. So I would like to have there be, that was kind of what was in my mindset about having, work with the committee on these projects. Those would be the.
Yeah,
kind
the
of things-
financial stuff though is going to go to the city council
Yes,
because
of
it's
course.
financial.
Sure,
But in
sure.
terms of like the actual
a site plan,
plans
right,
and the
right,
site plans,
That's just a number.
I
Yeah.
think the planning commission should be kept up to date on, this is the concept we're working on. We plan on having a site plan to you,
Right. Right.
something like.
Yeah, like I don't know what the latest is either. I mean, I can go out there and see with my eyes and stuff, but it's like I'm hearing it was supposed to be done at the end of the year. Now it's, still, so, an update would be awesome, just on some of that stuff too.
Yeah, I'd like to, I think they do a good job overall, but like Larry mentioned, the park, I live next to a depot
Yeah.
park and we always knew, I mean, it was disclosed when we bought the property 14, 15 years ago, there'd eventually be parked there. Okay, so, we're totally on board with that. But when they designed it, then we got when there'd be potentially a basketball court there. That's something we didn't want because it was going to be positioned right next to my master bedroom, like 10 feet away. And so I got involved and had a conversation with somebody and said, boy, this is really inconvenient. Is there something else you can do with the property? Because anyway, and I said, they wouldn't have asked me about my opinion unless I cornered them. And then I said, what do the rest of the neighbors think about? Oh, we're not going to talk to anybody else.
Well, we also never approved a basketball court for that
Right,
site.
at
So
that
that's
site,
another
yeah.
layer of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that was one of the ones that
Yeah, it was never
everyone
approved.
came to me and I was like,
Yeah, so my point is,
Speak is adamantly against it.
yeah, then so it's the transparency
It's the
that
transparency.
I'm more concerned about because I think ultimately, they're doing a good job, but the neighborhoods that they're affecting are being basically left out of the process.
And just to go back to like our initial conversations about the Mizraca and the Bonham and the intention of our city council, we're not trying to subjugate homeowners' property rights. And that's what we're doing when we bypass process and proceed with construction projects against our municipal code. And when we disregard the proper noticing that goes out to individual property owners within a radius, that is subjugating individual homeowners' property rights for the wishes of individuals that do not have the right to do so. So I'm increasingly incensed about the regularity of that occurring and the intentional nature of that continuing to occur despite how often I mention it in open session, emails, personal meetings, and conversations. I would like there to be more adherence to following our municipal code.
I think that's one of the things that, bring up a past subject here just for a minute, but the way we were talking about the commercial property, by making this change, I mean, the commercial is still commercial. We're only talking about a commercial transition, right?
no. No, we're talking about making changes to the the higher commercial categories, the highway commercial and straight commercial. I will present all the options so that,
So when this first came up, I was specifically talking about the commercial transition, the
but
CT.
you also have quite a number of properties that are zoned commercial, highway commercial and commercial, downtown commercial, that are in the same boat, have the potential to be in the same boat. So when we're fixing one, I don't want to just
Oh,
fix
you're
one, I
right.
want to fix the
You're right,
problem.
You're right. I'm looking at them. Those are the ones I was talking about. Yeah.
So.
Ones that have always been residential that got.
Okay, so what I'm going to suggest is that I make these updates. I've taken notes. Is the commission comfortable with me sending a revised draft to the chair?
And vice chair, I thought when that was the other thing, just to be really nitpicky. I thought that we had agreed that the chair and the vice chair would receive the agenda in advance. I don't know if that has been waylaid with all of the protocol manual revamping that is happening, but I thought that was something that City Manager Lee agreed to do. And I know neither one of us received an agenda
Okay,
until late in the evening on Friday. And so we don't really know like what's going on until we see that agenda. And I know I got it to you late Tuesday evening, like around 11. I was finally able to sit down and type everything up. I was asked to have it in by Wednesday afternoon. So we went from then to like Friday evening and had not been advised of any agenda setting. And then again, when we see it, oh, look, it goes out to the public at the same time it goes out to us. So I'm just looking for there to be, as per my last comment, there to be some more transparency and communication so that some of these things can be addressed. And I just wanted to clarify that. That was my impression. I don't know if that was your impression as well, Mark, but I thought we were both going to get.
It was, and I can totally understand if that's not possible to do every time.
Right.
But,
yeah, I think there's going to be times when it is difficult. I had it into Janice. When did I have it into you? Thursday?
Thursday afternoon.
Yeah,
I had to take my husband to a doctor.
yeah, but she
No,
was
and
out
I
then,
was
so it
late
was
too
like,
with Tuesday, yeah.
yeah.
So it was late, but I just was like, are we doing this? Are we not doing this? I know it's like a whole bit, because I was also told, well, I think they're revising the.
Okay, so do you want to see the agenda or the whole agenda packet?
I think the agenda, I don't necessarily need like all
Oh,
of
the agenda, that's easy. Janice and I can do up the agenda like on Mondays.
Kristen and I do the agenda. George
Okay.
usually doesn't have any say in.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can do the agenda in advance and then send that to you and then,
This is
yeah,
what I
yeah.
do.
yeah, that's easy. I'm like, oh my gosh, you want the packets? in
No,
advance and
not
we
the
do them?
packet. And, it's like I do, yeah, and it's just planning. It's like, if,
Yeah.
because then it's like I find out on Friday if we have a meeting on Tuesday. Like I don't even know like ahead, you know what
Okay,
I mean?
I
So
got it.
that would be, yeah.
We can send the agendas out, like plan on sending them out on Monday before.
and if you can just do the agenda, I mean, don't just send it to the two of us.
No, I can send.
I mean, it could go
we
to
can
everybody.
post
Yeah.
it.
I mean,
So we can post the agenda anytime in advance, as long as if we have to make changes, as long as we meet the 72-hour rule. to
yeah.
change
The
it.
72-hour rule needs to
So
be here
that's
for sure.
fine.
Okay.
Okay, I will do that. I will send this memo before I send it to George, to the chair and the vice chair, just for your concurrence. And then with that blessing, I will give it to George, the
For the-
city manager, to forward to the city council at the next available meeting. Okay? I know it's getting late here. I did want to, can we move on to the next item so I can give you
Yes,
an
I
update?
think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Building permit.
I know you guys are anxious to get items to find out what I'm doing. I'm going to remind you again. I'm just telling you what's happening. I don't want questions. I don't want comments.
Non-discussion
I would
team.
like all of you to not have to recuse yourself for the future vote,
We're
because I
on
think
some
all five of
dangerous
you.
territory
Yeah.
on that respect.
That,
Yeah.
It means don't talk about future development projects, Mr.
Anybody.
Commissioner Caputo.
Neutral.
not me, I'm neutral. They get they get told to me.
Okay, so the gas station on Main Street.
The
with-
gentleman that came in and made a public comment.
We go with the building permit?
Yeah,
wait, is that
that
what we're
I'm
doing
working with them and we have a good, it's fine. I don't think there's anything to do there. So I send out what I do, just to let you know, when an applicant comes in and says, hey, I'm thinking about this, we give them, that applicant, kind of a freebie meeting. We don't charge for it, for them to run their ideas past staff. So that happened, and his designer worked up some stuff. And then he submitted an application. I then send that application referral package out to staff again with, because it has more detail, and to any responsible agencies, interested parties, et cetera. So that was sent because of its proximity to state highway intersection. That's a significant intersection in the city. That was sent to Caltrans. Caltrans came back with a lengthy list of demands. Essentially, they want a traffic study. They don't like the ingress egress, how it's designed. The list
The
goes
lengthy
on.
list.
So it was pulled from the agenda for tonight.
I was
because they-
wondering, because he
Because
had,
they clearly did not, I always assume that if Caltrans wants it, you're going to want that same information. So you're not going to want me to bring it to you and not have the answers. I don't want to do what the school district did.
right, but have we ever had to require a traffic study for something on Main Street like that?
I don't know, because I haven't been here long enough to have any projects, but I believe this ties into some other things that's happening.
Okay,
Okay,
I'll leave it at that.
so,
I know we had a traffic survey at one time on West Marlette, a long, long time
Mhm.
ago.
so about a year ago, Caltrans, we met with Caltrans staff to talk about Shakely intersection with Plymouth Highway and 124, right?
Mhm.
104, 124 Shakely, that intersection. And at that time, they were looking into designing some free right turns to put in some free right turns in order to alleviate, to expand a little bit and restripe to alleviate some of the congestion at that. So fast forward to December, the Amador County Transportation Commission got an update letter from the new District 10 director. And in that update letter, it says this intersection is being reviewed for a four-way stop.
Interesting.
Okay. So,
Which intersection is this?
Shakely and
104,
Preston and.
Preston Avenue.
okay, so that is in that letter.
But a stop, not a light?
So at the same time, I have received I have the applications that I'm processing for Ringer Ranch and Waterman Road Ranch, two big subdivisions, right? And they've done what's called a modified initial study. That initial study has, biological, cultural, traffic, noise, all the studies associated with it. I've taken that document and hired subconsultants to do a peer level review on all of the documents that they provided. And then Wildan has their traffic consultant. They reviewed the traffic analysis that was done. They did an LOS study. I asked them to do an LOS study because I wanted to be able to answer the safety questions that are associated with LOS, level of service. So they did do that. They agreed to do that. Caltrans has all that information. The developers have been working with Caltrans. And ideally, this was going to be in front of us probably next month, but because Caltrans involved, and I believe the developers are going to start negotiating with Caltrans on some potential other types of improvements. What are the options for improvements? And what would be their level of participation? Which would all be wrapped into a development agreement.
Right.
And I'm working on the city attorney has a draft development agreement, and I'm supposed to be having a meeting this week to work on the conditions of approval. So we're trying to get this all wrapped up and packaged for the planning commission. I'm not even going to give you a date because I just don't know how long it's going to take at this point.
Understood.
But I just wanted to let you know that I'm hearing all the comments. I know the concerns about traffic. We are doing, from a staff level, we're requesting a ton of information so that you have a lot of information in front of you in order to make an informed decision.
And we're still expecting to have that come to us in one meeting, one discussion, and expected to make a decision at that meeting?
No, you can continue a meeting if there's missing information, if the public comment is too long
Okay.
or, yeah, I mean, no, that's,
Okay.
you,
I
you-
just want to, the part of why I think I speak for the, is that part of why we wanted to have some of this discussion was because we didn't feel that that was a prudent way to make such an impactful decision.
oh gosh, no.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
no, no. These subdivisions are presumably under new lining housing guidelines.
Right.
So full CEQA doesn't apply to them.
Right, I know, exactly. That's
So
why.
that's
I'm-
why
Yeah,
but it doesn't mean that um, there are still going to be studies, and while you might not be able to create mitigations because would be exempted from the ability to mitigate, that doesn't mean you can't do conditions of approval. And that's why I'm working with sub-consultants who are more familiar with me than this new process to make sure that we're doing it
I see. Okay,
that we can provide enough assurance, if these projects go forward, that they're still why we can't mitigate for the impacts that this conditions of approval will
Will
provide the
address that.
necessary amenities to the city.
but
So-
that would be done as conditions of approval separate from the developer's agreement? Or
I roll conditions of approval into development agreements.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you do subdivision, yeah. I
Okay.
like them all rolled in together. So that's where we're at with those projects. Just wanted to bring you up to speed.
I appreciate it.
And thank you for not asking me questions or making comments.
No, just want to know what's going on.
Absolutely, I get it.
At this point, Susan, the potential gas station is kind of in his court. to
It's in, the
answer.
ball's in his court. I connected him with the city engineer and I gave him the Caltrans letter. It's up to him to decide if he wants to continue going down that path. You know,
That's at Army's gas station, the same place, okay, especially underground tanks, who wants those anymore?
Is that where the?
well,
No,
that's another issue. The state
Think so?
finally, after 10 years, finally said, yeah,
Thank-
the rule that we adopted 10 years ago about single walled gas tanks is now into effect, which is why several gas stations in the county are no longer serving gas because they thought the state would extend it another year and they didn't. And so now the demand for double walled tanks is huge. And so there's several gas stations that are waiting for new double walled tanks to come in before they can move forward. And there's, so the pressure's on to do above ground tanks too.
Or if that's probably not enough room there, unless they go vertical, but.
Well, that's what their application was, above ground tanks.
Yeah, which, I was the owner of a gas station a long time ago up in Jackson and ended up just taking the tanks out. You couldn't afford to replace them for the money you made, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it's an expensive prospect doing those double wall
ground
tanks, taking them out and making sure it's all clean. And a lot of them aren't, so they have to do the remediation, the soil remediation around it and get clearance and, yeah, it's a process.
Has any of that
Cheap.
leached into the ground?
Pardon me?
Has any of the materials leached into the ground?
At this one, I don't know. I think that those tanks have been gone a long time, I
Yeah,
believe.
When they were,
They were small,
when Corsoletti had it there, I was
yeah.
operating up through into the middle eighties or so. He had above and below ground tanks, but
Mhm.
if I remember, those tanks were taken out.
Yeah, I believe those have been taken out and that's been cleared.
I think, yeah, he was getting his gas probably from Dave Mace. They weren't big tanks, I'm sure. And so those, uh, Mr. Stewart probably go over there every couple of days and give him a few hundred gallons.
Yeah.
So with that, I will go ahead and open up public comment for any comments on these last 4 items, if there's any comment. Janice, anyone on Zoom? New? Okay, so we will close public comment on those items and okay.
Great meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. I
Very
agree.
productive.
Yes, it's nice to have this today. So, gosh, yeah, I mean, with that, we can adjourn. We have our next, agenda set and everything else. So, no, we're good.
I
Adjourn.
will try very hard to get this out